I noticed the other day something while I was doing my taxes and digging through some trucking magazines. They're throwing a lot more money at us than they ever have. So if they're throwing more money at us, what's the problem? Well, I've been looking into it, and it's kind of weird. Memphis. Just another day being stuck behind a fence. Gonna go inside and see if they've actually opened the new restaurant. I heard they closed the Iron Skillet to put in an IHOP. We were all really happy about that. That's sarcasm. So as I was talking to some friends of mine today about, the kind of money that they're making and the kind of raises that they're getting, and I sit here and I read through these magazines. The amount of money that they're offering is obscene. I'm not even gonna lie. They're offering obscene amounts of money. So if they're offering this much money, and we're talking like 70 cents a mile for company drivers, I mean, everybody keeps saying it's about money. We need more money. You're getting more money. So what's the problem? Well, I'm kind of starting to figure it out. It's not about the money. It's about management. But there's also another trend I'm noticing in these that's also just as disturbing. As I dig through these books, there's less about company drivers and more about lease drivers. Everybody is pushing lease drivers. And it's understandable in this economy. You want more trucks, you need to haul more freight, but you don't want to pay for it. Well, that's where the lease drivers come in. And what they're paying is kind of an insult still, but some guys are making money, some guys aren't. So I'm just kind of at a point here where I'm like, if they're offering this kind of money, I mean, they're offering, that's great money. That's, if you do the math on the kind of miles that they're claiming, we're talking 80 to 90,000 a year, potentially. So why are they offering that much? And what are they hoping to get? Well, I got some thoughts on that, and this is kind of what I think is going on. So bear with me. Now, first of all, I'm not even going to get into the Motor Carrier Act of 1980. Let's just put that aside. Deregulation has nothing to do with this. That's a whole conversation for another day. We're talking about now. There's a whole new breed of college kids running these companies, and they're pushing the old school guys and the truck drivers out the door. So that's a good thing and it's a bad thing. But what I'm seeing is something that's completely unsustainable. They have come to the point where they're throwing money at a problem because they don't want to fix the problem. In the office, they don't see a problem. They just think, oh, if we throw more money at these guys, the problem's going to go away. They'll quit whining. But I told one of the way too many vice presidents at my last company, yeah, it sounds like truck drivers bitching and moaning. I said, but if you would really stop to listen, you would start seeing a common thread moving through all the discussions, and you would start figuring out what's wrong. But you have to listen to all the complaining, because after a while, yeah, a lot of it is just complaining, but there's a lot of information mixed in with it all. And it's not about money. Money is just a symptom. Yeah, everybody wants to make more money. I'm not even gonna lie. Everybody wants to make more money. But we're being offered a lot of money and it's getting worse. So it all comes down to management. Well, let me set the stage when I say management. How many times have you heard guys say, we've been doing this the same way since 1995, or we've been doing the same way for 25 years, or we've been doing this? It doesn't work that way anymore. trucking's fluid. You have to change with the times, and times are getting crazy. Times are changing. Freight lanes are changing, and you have to change with the times. These people don't want to change with the times. They want to do the same thing they've always been doing, the tried and true method, and they think if they just keep throwing money at it, it's going to fix itself. The problem is there's never enough money. There's never enough money. So what ends up happening is these companies end up bankrupting themselves because of this. I worked for a company like that, and it was sad, and I'll tell you the story about that. Years ago, I worked for a company out of Montana. It's a wonderful company. Loved it. Real open door policies. It was it was the best place for old school trucker. The problem was the owner, being an old trucker himself, he never withheld anything. If you needed it, there was never a question asked. So you always get those guys out there who take advantage of everything. And slowly but surely, they started running him into the ground. Well, these guys didn't care because it wasn't their trucking company. So they ended up it ended up going, and he kept having a harder time and a harder time and a harder time, and it was just the financials of it, and it wasn't a secret. Which was sad because the guy was great. He's still great. You know, you can go up to the truck stop and he still eats breakfast there in the morning. You can go sit down and talk to him. He's a great guy. Excellent guy. But you have to find that fine line, and you're either one side of the pendulum or the other, and if you try to walk the line, you're going to get cut in half because it's razor thin. And that's what happened. He started getting cut in half. So he ended up saying, this can't go on anymore, this is unsustainable. Got an offer to sell it. He sold the company. And then the new owners drove it clean into the dirt, which was sad because he gave the new owners a wonderful place and a wonderful company with great drivers, and they completely destroyed it. But management is out of touch, and that's one of the problems that I've been noticing. So I was talking to a buddy of mine about, he works at the company I used to work for, and he's talking about how much they're paying now. He's making 65 cents a mile, and they've got this new scoring system that's almost completely rigged. And he said if he keeps his score above, what is it, like 800 points for the quarter or something like that, he's going to go up 5 cents a mile, 70 cents a mile. He's not knocking it, I'll tell you that. He says, but when you're only getting 18 to 2,000 miles a week, is it really worth it? Yes and no. I mean, it is more money, but, you know, it's almost like it's rigged in their favor. But 65 cents a mile. And as I'm going through these magazines, you know, the lowest, a lot of the companies aren't publishing what they're paying right now, but the lowest published one I saw was 50 cents. I saw one for 65 or 64 with an option for 3 cents and here and 3 cents there and all sorts of bonuses, you know, for fuel and mileage and things of that nature. So, you know, where do you go from here? Well, freight is not cheap. And one thing I discovered, that when freight's not cheap, they can afford to pay a little more. But I'll tell you what, a lot of them are making it up on the back end. So, freight's paying more, and they can afford to pay the drivers a little more. But they'd rather have lease drivers, as I said. But one thing we also have to understand with the rise of fuel is the rise of fuel surcharge. As a company driver, these company drivers don't realize that these guys still collect detention on company trucks. They still collect fuel surcharge on company trucks. These companies, they collect everything that an owner-operator would collect. They're no different. The driver doesn't see it. So, if you're paying, you know, if you're getting 35 to 40 cents a mile for the fuel surcharge, you've already paid half of the driver's wages at that point with the fuel surcharge alone. And so, and these trucks don't sit around for free. So, I'm going somewhere with this. bear with me. So, why can't people find drivers? I was talking to a friend of mine, owns his own business. I've known him for years. Got several trucks, fleet of trailers. Does quite nicely for himself, but he bought some trucks, and he says he just bought a truck and he's turning around and selling it. I said, why? He says, I can't find nobody to drive it. He says, I'm guaranteeing these guys 70,000 a year with the potential to make 90. He says, I can't find anyone. Excuse me. He says, I can't find anyone to drive my truck. So he's turning around and selling it. I'm like, what's the problem? He's like, you know, the part of the problem is the insurance company. The guys that want to work, I can't hire. The guys that don't want to work, there are plenty available. They want the big truck, they want the hood, they want the image, they want to be the big bad truck driver. They want the large car. He says, half the time I can't even get half of these guys out of bed before 9 o'clock. He says, we got work. We got work to do. We got cows to haul. We got hay to haul. We got things to do. And these guys want all the money. They want all the perks. They want all the prestige, but they don't want to work. And that's been a problem. You know, I had this conversation with one of our training leaders in training at my last job about this, and this has been an ongoing problem, and it's only gotten worse the last couple of years. I mean, let me give you some numbers and I'll tell you how bad it is. I've talked about some of these numbers before, and some of these numbers, you know, are things that I've said, but I was talking to the guy. I said, why can't you hire, you know, X, Y, and Z? He's like, look, I said, is this the best you can find? He says, sadly, yes. He says, we made over 40,000 contacts last year. He said that 40,000 contacts, we managed to get 2,100 of them hired. And they managed to get about half of those to make it to orientation. And this is for a fleet with 600 trucks. That's ridiculous. You know, that's actually, those are real numbers. You're looking at what they say, they were having a turnover rate of about 175%. A lot of the problem that we were having was a lot of these guys don't understand that this is real work. A lot of these guys aren't here to work. So, is it about money? I'm getting back to money. Yes and no. It's about money, attitude, management. It's the whole thing. Everybody wants to point, but you can't point at one thing. We're in a perfect storm right now when it comes to the industry. The industry's suffering, and it's a little of everyone's fault. I'll explain. I've noticed every time the government steps in and says, we're here to help, it makes things worse. Like I said, I'm not going to talk about the Motor Carrier Act of 1980. We can talk about that another time. That's a whole subject, and I got my own views as well as a lot of you. But, you know, you get there and you got the hours of service change, and then you've got this change, you've got that change, you've got just all of this stuff happening. Well, it's a perfect storm. So then you start adding in companies, you start adding in, you know, all the other contributing factors, throw people in on top of it, and it's just an absolute mess. The fact of the matter is, everything looks good on paper. You know, you can make anything look good on paper. There's a lot of things that aren't working. There's a lot of things that are. But it comes down to a general attitude. A lot of the problems that we're having come down to the attitude of the drivers, but also come down to the attitude of the company. So that's been a big problem. Where do we go from here? I honestly can't tell you. I wasn't even sure how this video was going to go, and I'm not sure how much, well, you know, I can't tell you. I know something's going to have to give. You know, it's getting ridiculous. I do know that I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I've seen the industry change a lot in the last, especially the last 5 to 10. But sometimes change is good. Sometimes we do have to let go of the old ways, but we can't ever forget the lessons of the old ways. And that's what I think we've forgotten. You know, there's a lot of money to be made here. And I think a lot of these big companies and corporations know that. And they've taken advantage of it. But we all kind of have. And it's kind of, where do we go from here? Because I'll tell you right now, there's no backing up. So, where do we go from here? Well, we got to go forward. So, where we go forward from here is up to all of us. But we're all going to have to figure something out, and we're going to have to figure out something that's going to work, because what we're doing right now isn't. This ain't 10 years ago. This ain't even 5 years ago. This is today. Trucking's fluid, and you got to move with it. Boy, I'm just kind of wandering all over around here, aren't I? I'll go see if they got what they got in the deli. There wasn't nothing in there I wanted. So, nah. At the risk of sounding stupid and romantic, you start by being professional. You stop looking at this as a job and start looking at it as a lifestyle, because it really kind of is. Yeah, it's employment, but it's also a way of life. It sounds goofy and romantic. I'm not trying to romanticize this, but I do know one thing. If you look at this as a lifestyle, you're going to love it. If you look at this as a job, you're going to hate every minute of it. So, it's the next day. I'm sitting here in a door over here on President's Island trying to figure out what's going on. So, I guess what I was getting at about all of this is, I think we could probably all agree this has gone beyond money. This money's nice, don't get me wrong. We all like money. That's why we're out here. But all the problems and everything that's going on out here in the industry, money's not going to solve this. It's going to take all of us being proactive. And that's kind of where we're at. You know, money only goes so far. Like I said, they've been throwing money at us like crazy. And if you really look at it, though, they're just shuffling this amount over here and this amount over here. People don't offer that kind of money by cutting their bottom line. I'm going to tell you that right now. None of these companies have cut their bottom line. They've just figured out how to do it, and there's a profit margin and a whole bunch of math involved. So they can offer a lot on paper, but at the end of the year, are you really making that much more? Depends. So, yeah, it's gone beyond money. So, where do we go from here? I can't tell you. I guess the industry is going to have to dictate, and we're going to have to figure out how to combat it, or at least how to work within it to make our lives profitable. That's why we're out here. So, just something that's been weighing on my mind for a while, and I hope you like this video. It's a little deeper. You can leave your questions or comments or whatever down below, but I'll answer them the best I can. But what I'm seeing out here is it's gone beyond money now. It's gone way beyond money now, and management hasn't quite figured that out. They're starting to, though. I'll tell you right now, they're going to start hurting this next year. I already see it coming because I've seen it before. So, anyhow, I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. If you like these videos, give me some suggestions of what you want to see. Please like, share, subscribe, whatever, and I'll see you next video.
Yeah.